Okay, great. All right, so we have solving radical equations, right? And so those are using square roots. And we've been doing that now for several days, for about a week or so. And there will be a quiz tomorrow. It's going to be on this as well as all the radical things, right? How to multiply radicals, how to add radicals, how to subtract radicals, and how to divide radicals, right? And how to rationalize the denominator, right? All of that stuff you should know at this point. And it'll be really foreign to you, Coco. Don't worry about it, all right? It'll be totally foreign. But once you understand it, it's not foreign. You just have to understand it, right? And that's true with everything. All higher level math, you know, it can look very scary. Calculus can look very scary. But then when they explain it to you, oh, I guess I sort of get that. You know, it's not that bad. So we talked. Let's first of all review a little bit. We talked about when you have a square root, x plus 4 equals 10. Right? You can't, Andrea, watch. No, I don't want you drawing pictures of that. I really want you taking notes, right? You cannot do this, right? Andrea, why?
You cannot do that because the 4 is under a square root.
Correct. The 4 is under a square root sign. So that is not 4. It's the square root of x plus 4. I can't do that. So that's illegal. That's an illegal move. So what would I do, Andrea?
You would square both sides.
Right. And why would I do that?
You would do that because you need to get rid of the square root before you can continue.
And square is the opposite of square root, right? So a square and a square root cancel each other out. So suddenly all I have is x plus 4 is equal to 100, right? Never 10 times 2, it's 10 times 10, right? And then now suddenly I don't have the 4 under a square root sign. I just have it plain and easily decipherable or usable. So I get x is equal to 96. Piece of cake, right? Everybody gets that, right?
Yep.
All right. So,
Thumbs up.
so now we're going to move into where they get slightly more tricky. And they're not very tricky. They're pretty easy, right? They're slightly more tricky. But we'll just do some.
That makes
So let's say
sense.
I gave you the square root. Now these are not going to necessarily work out. So we'll start with this. This is example 1. The square root of 4x minus 8 equals 6. All right. Oh wait, I was going to do one other thing. Sorry.
Oh dear.
I was going to say plus 2 equals 6. All right. So there is a rule when you're actually solving a radical equation, meaning it has a radical sign or square root sign, right? That the rule says you must first always isolate the radical sign, that's fine, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean? Yes, Ben.
You would first have to subtract the 2. before
Right.
you can-
This is my radical, the thing that has the square root sign and everything underneath it. This is not my radical. And this has to be isolated. And isolate means what again?
It's by itself.
All by itself, right? Right? When you're isolated, right? You're all alone, right? So yeah, so depressing, right? We definitely want him to be all alone, right? So we're going to get rid of that 2. And the only way to get rid of a number from one side to the other is to either add it or subtract it, right? Okay, so we're going to subtract, we're subtracting it. So now we have the square root of 4x minus 8 is equal to 4. Now is my radical isolated? Yes. So what do?
Plus you.
No, that's a square.
Square, both sides, right? Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. That's the golden rule of algebra. So this crosses out that. So now I have 4x minus 8 is equal to 16, right?
Yeah, then you
Okay,
add
Gideon,
eight.
what do I do now?
So now you'd add 8 to either side,
Add 8 to both sides.
and then you divide that
to 4x.
Wait, what's
or
what's
that's
16 plus
24,
8?
That's 24.
24.
And so then you divide it by 4 and you have x equals 6.
Isn't that great? I actually figured one out that worked. Nice and conveniently. Isn't that great? So that's my first
You just came
example.
up with that on the spot?
Impressive, Gary.
I
most
know,
impressive.
very impressive.
I applaud you, sir.
It's hard being extraordinary. All right.
I
So
know,
This
number
is
two.
far from extraordinary. We'll
Okay,
say the fact that I'm still being able to write.
What if I did?
I was sad.
What if I did something like this? 2 square root of 3x plus 10 equals, I don't know, 20. Ooh, I kind of added a few things there.
What?
So what would I do? First of all, is my radical isolated?
No.
No.
It's not.
All right, what
It's
would I do
got-
first, Ben?
Let's subtract 10.
Would you agree with that, Tia?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Gideon?
Yep.
I would too. So we would subtract 10,
I
subtract
me
10,
too.
subtract 10. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, well. 2 square root of 3x is equal to,
10.
okay, 20, carry the 1, 5
Five.
by 3, okay, 10, right? Okay, now, is my radical sign
No.
isolated?
No.
No,
No,
it's
and
not.
what is that 2 doing to the radical sign?
Multiplying it by 2.
So how do I undo that?
Divide.
I undivided, I mean,
I'm giving you your undivided attention, Gary.
Oh my god.
okay, so now what? So that gives me, these cross out, oh, when is 10 divided by 2?
No.
So I got the
It's
square
5
root of
over
3x
3.
is equal to 5.
5.
Right now,
It's 5 thirds.
what would I do?
Wait, no, it's
Square both sides. Guys, too noisy. 3x is equal to 25, and then what do I do? So this one is a fraction.
25 over 3.
25 over 3, right? Pretty easy, right?
Of course, you could do 8
Oh, that hurt.
one-thirds.
That
What?
You could do 8 1/3. Oh yeah, as a mixed number.
Yes, right.
No, it's not.
Boy.
I didn't have my head.
All right, so what if I gave you something like this?
I would check with that.
Okay, I have a question.
With 2 arms and 1 sleeve sweater.
It's a height.
Somebody had a question. Mira, yes.
In high school, when you're doing like your SATs and stuff,
You're whistling at me?
No.
That's all right.
And tests and stuff, will
Whoa.
we have to simplify it to like a mix, or not simplify, but like make it into a mixed number? Or
Guys, are you listening to her?
Yes.
like
What did she say?
No.
Okay, so listen to her while she's talking.
on like SATs and tests that are multiple choice, will we have to simplify it into a mixed number, or can we keep it as an improper fraction?
So, like, give me an example. Okay.
Like if that was the answer 25 over 3, on like that's the answer you got, and that's the right answer. Like
Oh,
on-
right. So they'll have, on a test like that, they would have, you know, it would be multiple choice, A, B, C, or D. My guess is they wouldn't have 2 that equaled exactly the same thing, like 25 over 3 versus 8 and,
No, I know, but would you have to
1/3.
simplify it into a mixed number for it to like be one of the answers, or like do they want
Uh,
to simplify it?
it depends, there's not an answer to that.
Wait,
Because
I have a-
sometimes A might be this, sometimes it might be 8 and a third. Neither of them is wrong. If somebody tells you one of them's wrong, they're wrong, right?
There.
You know, in algebra, sometimes it's more convenient to leave it as a fraction, like slope, right? You know, you would not want to graph this, y is equal to 8 and a third x plus 2, right? You can't do it the way it is. You have to turn that into a fraction so that you have a slope, right? So it would be wrong to have it like this, right? Then other times, if I'm trying to graph this number if I'm trying to find that on a graph, it would be hard for me to find 25 over 3. It'd be easier for me to find 8 and 1/3. You see why? Because I know I go over 8 and I will 1/3 more, right? So it depends on the situation. So there's no right or wrong. So I doubt that an SAT would make that right or wrong. I don't think they would give you two equal things in that kind of a situation, right? But it looked different. All right,
Okay,
so anyways,
okay.
how would I do this one though? Let's look at this.
Okay.
Ben,
So I'm guessing you would combine like terms.
okay, what like terms?
Or no, you would do distributive property with the subtraction sign to the second.
But, can I multiply anything outside times anything inside? The radical sign.
No.
Remember, if I had 2 square root of 10x, can I say that's 20x? No, I can't multiply something outside times something inside. I have to keep them separate. I have to keep that negative sign separate from that. Gideon.
Do you just square everything?
Okay, if I squared everything,
What about the negative?
Whoa.
Square
if I squared everything, that would require something called FOIL. If I did that, I wouldn't write this down. But it would mean I would be multiplying this. I would be multiplying 6x plus 12. Let's see here. 6x, how do I do this?
Can't you just take,
Get rid of
Gary,
6x plus 12 minus the square root of 4x minus 7 times square root of 6x plus 12,
Gary.
oops, not that,
What-
minus square root of 4x minus 7, and that would mean I'd have to do this times this, and then this times this, and then this times this, and then this times this, and I'd have to add them all together, and it would be a nightmare.
Gary,
Absolute
but
nightmare.
doesn't the
It would
square,
take you 20 minutes.
So wouldn't
doesn't
it
the
be
square
6x?
take out all the square roots?
Yeah, but what's the number one rule that I just talked about?
Isolate it, but there's 2 of them.
They're not isolated, are they?
No, I don't know. There's a negative there.
Could I make them isolated? Okay.
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know, baby.
Okay. Mira double E.
Yes, you can.
How could I do that, Mira?
You can add square root of 4x minus 7.
By golly, she's right. Let's get rid of all this mess I made. Right?
Gary, how could you
Yes.
say that about parentheses?
So we are going to add one of them to the other side. Then will they both be isolated?
Yeah.
Yes. Right? 4x
No.
minus 7. Add the square root of 4x minus 7. And then that's going to give me the square root of 6x plus 12 is equal to the square root of 4x minus 7. Now, Michael, what would you do? Square both sides because they are both isolated, right? All right, they're both isolated, so I can square both sides. So now all I have is 6x plus 12 is equal to 4x minus 7. So, Michael, help me.
Okay, you subtract the 4x, and then
Yes.
you subtract that from the 6x, and then you have 2x plus 12 equals negative 7, and then you subtract the 12, and then you subtract the 12, and then the 2x equals negative 19, and then you have x equals negative 19 over 2.
Yes. Negative 19 over 2.
7 be positive or not?
No,
Say it again?
Wow.
Oh,
7.
so yeah, so Mira asked a really important question so that you understand that. Because when you think about it, sometimes you think, oh, well, I'm squaring something. If I'm squaring a negative, it would be a positive, right? But no, the square is actually squaring the square
Okay,
root.
that's what I thought. I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure.
And so whatever's under the square root, when you square the whole thing, just stays exactly the way it is, right? Right? Make sense? So pretty easy, really, right? Pretty easy. Okay, so now let's try some with some fractions. Can I erase?
Yeah.
Wait, Gary. What if it like equal like 2?
Why do you suppose that? Yeah.
Right, so equaling 2 would make this a much more complicated problem. It's solvable, but it would be harder. And I'm not going to go there. But see, do you see why?
Yeah.
Because suddenly, if that's a 2, then if I added this, it would be this plus 2. It's no longer a what? Isolated radical, right? So suddenly it'd be much harder to solve. Much harder. we're not gonna go there. That would be more like an algebra 2 kind of a thing.
Gary, my
Um,
pencil just broke itself. The little clippy thingy decided to derp.
Alright, this is a video, buddy.
Yes, I
You
do.
So,
don't use them.
4, right? We're on 4?
Yeah, 4.
Okay,
Oh,
what if I gave you something like this? The square root of x over 5 equals 6.
Would you multiply by 5?
Why?
Because you're dividing.
You're dividing by 5, right? You don't like the fraction?
No.
So get rid of it, right?
No, I hate fractions.
Okay,
They're
we'll
my
get rid of
enemy.
fractions must stop.
So we're gonna multiply it by 5 over 1.
Yeah.
That crosses out, I gotta
Why not?
multiply that times 5. So now I have the square root of x is equal to what?
30.
30. Now,
No,
London, what would I do?
Square root, you square it and then another x, and 30 times 30 is 900, and
900.
x equals
Wow.
900.
Good
Genius.
job. Brilliant.
Wow. That's a
Brilliant.
big number.
It's over 900.
That was bad.
Hey, actually, it's a lot shorter than Aussie.
David says it all the time. And apparently it's 9,000.
Alright, what if I gave you,
You fall into the dark side.
How have I found so far?
You like anime.
Darn, that's bad. It's going on.
Wow.
I'll be Anakin. You'll be Obi-Wan.
okay, this is probably not gonna work out, it'll probably be a fraction.
I'm running out of space in my notebook. Gary.
And now who's full?
Yours.
Oh, wait. Shh. So the idea is to keep it simple, right? You wanna simplify everything you can. If I don't have to have big numbers, then I don't wanna have big numbers.
No.
So, yes, I could multiply everything by 10. It would get rid of that denominator, and then that would be just a little bigger number, but had that been 200, it would have been like 22,000, right, if I multiplied it up. So, yes, Lila, what would you do?
You would reduce, so it would be,
2 goes into 2 once,
and then it's 5.
2 goes into 10 5 times.
And then you multiply both sides with 5.
So multiply both sides times 5,
And then it's, square root of 2x minus 4 equals 10.
okay?
You multiply both sides by,
You square it.
you square it.
Now, have you noticed, did you notice, like, she was talking about multiplying both sides, right? If I multiply this side times the square root of 2x minus 4, I would have to multiply this side times the square root of 2x minus 4. I would get rid of my square roots over here, but I would have square roots now over here. You see what I mean?
The golden rule
So
of
that's the
algebra.
beauty of squaring things, right?
It's 52.
Right? With squaring, I don't have that problem. Did you understand that? Did you see that problem? Right? So then suddenly, now I've got 2x minus 4 is equal to 100.
It works, Gary.
Does it really?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
so
does.
excited.
Then it's
2x is equal to 104.
Well, you made all the
equals
numbers
52.
even.
Yeah, when
so-
you
I did
make
that
all the
on
numbers
purpose, so 52. Good job,
You should
Jerry.
just make all
Actually-
the numbers in our homework even. That would
Actually,
make it
if
so
it's
much
like-
easier.
If it's like a higher even, there is a chance of getting a fraction.
Yeah, whatever.
If you've got like 72,
Whatever.
if you've got like 72 over, or 2 over 72, then you know
All right.
it's gonna draw out as a fraction.
Okay, so now, yes, okay, so what we're gonna look at now is we're gonna just do a little,
2 divided
we're
by
gonna do a
7.
little review.
You did 2 goes into 72.
What?
Yeah,
No,
it's
I said
because
7.
it's
I said
easy.
2 over 72.
Okay, 50, so fist to 5, where are we at with this? It's awesome.
Can I just do the homework? No.
So now, we're gonna just go back, since the quiz tomorrow is gonna also include adding, simplifying, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing.
No.
We're gonna review some of those right now. We've got a few minutes,
Wait,
so,
Gary.
yes.
What if, we didn't talk about this yesterday, but, and yesterday I
Yes.
asked, but what if there's like, a square root equation, and then a number that you have to, get rid of if you have to isolate it, and then an equal sign, but then another square root?
that would be similar to the question that I think Lila asked, where you would, there's no way to isolate them both, you see what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna give you some like that. They would be harder to solve, and I just don't wanna go there, right? You don't need to go that far. The main thing is just understanding radicals and how they work and how to manipulate them and stuff. That's the important thing.
Gary, I need help with all the radical equations. They're my enemy now.
I
not
know,
exponents.
of course you do. Okay, well, let's just try it.
But
Here,
radicals.
Hey Gary, I'm
so
gonna-
I think you guys know those are the best, right? Because those are really
Yeah.
easier.
Those are fun.
all the
Why
other
can't we
stuff,
do those?
right?
So on the quiz, can you put like the equation like x or square root of x over square root of y? Then what you have to do to solve the thing. Can you do that? Because that really helped everyone.
I'm lost.
Yeah.
Put in directions.
Yeah, you know how
Directions?
like at the top of some homeworks you
Yeah,
put
I'll
like
do that.
how to do
I'm
it.
happy to do that.
Thank
I'm happy to
you.
do
Or
that.
just,
Thank
Um,
you.
And I'm actually willing to make it an open note quiz too.
Oh,
Like, if
thank
you-
I will love you for life.
Right, okay.
can you return our
So-
homework first, though?
What?
Can you return our
Oh,
homework
yeah, I
first,
need to do
though?
that. I need to do that.
That would probably be helpful
Yeah,
for
okay.
open notes.
So,
Why?
so guys, let's have it quiet. Actually, do you want this on the video or should I turn the video off?
Turn the video off.
But